Yes. Are we good? We're on. Paul Cree, make your own bed and hope for the best. Uh, Script development. This is going to be story number 5. So there's been a bit of a gap between this one and the last one, right? Well, as you can see, if you've watched the last videos, the location's changed. I'm in the middle of moving house, so it's taken up a lot of my time recently. Painting, plastering. Though I've not been plastering, I don't have those skills. I've just been supervising the plasterers. But speaking of not having many skills, this is a show about going into the workplace whilst not having many skills. So this is story number 5, I think. And I'm a little bit tetchy about this one. Oh, before I get into it, I finally got dates. It's weird, I've got a mic in my hand for this one. This is the only way I can figure out how to do it. And I find myself pointing quite a lot, and I'm not even looking at the camera. There you go, I am now. Alright, that's better, innit? Okay, so finally got dates for the preview. 30th and 31st of July, Camden People's Theatre, London. I will be doing the latest work in progress versions of this show, which is what all of these videos have been building up to. We'll be out of social distancing by then, fingers crossed. So it's going to be at to full capacity in the basement. Camden People's Theatre, newly refurbished as well. It's had a capital redevelopment grant, etc. So it's all going to be brand spanking, which is quite exciting because I've not seen it yet. So yeah, 30th, 31st of July. Please book some tickets because it won't be social distance. It will be up to full capacity, and it's pretty small. It's in the basement. It's the smallest space, but I still need to sell some tickets. Do you know what I mean? So if it was socially distanced, it'll be easier because I'll be like, oh yeah, I've sold it out, and there'll be like 10 people. But whatever, innit? I want as many people in there as possible. So book some tickets. So here we go. Show number 5. This one was never in any of the previous versions. It was one I tried writing right at the beginning, never used it. I resurrected it. Still not sure. I like it, but I don't know if it's gonna make it. Anyway, here we go. Less than enough of the waffling. 2 minutes 49, and he ain't even started. It's just gone 4 a.m. and I'm walking to the airport for a 5 o'clock start. It's cold and dark. My shoulders are hunched into my jacket, hood over my head. I've got a mini disc player and I'm listening to Illmatic by Nas. Just bought it on CD along with Reasonable Doubt. I also bought this mini disc player which has a mini disc recorder and an old mixer so I can plug my mic in and record me MCing over drum and bass and hip hop instrumental CDs. I'm earning a bit more dough now. Since I started working at H.F.T.B at Gatwick Airport, my music collection has trebled due to the tasty 30% discount, which also applies to Waterstones. It's a touch as I'm getting into reading books. Never thought I would. They're alright. I just bought this one by this geezer called Michael Moore and this other one about election fraud, George Bush and that. I've been reading them on my lunch breaks, along with all the tabloid news stories about Beckham signing for Real Madrid. I turn into the alleyway that leads into Fairlawns behind my house. It reminds me of being a paperboy, ripping round the quiet streets when hardly anyone else is about, except for the airport workers and the weirdos. And that's me now, airport worker and occasional weirdo. I've got the Airside security pass hanging around my neck just so people know, yeah, I'm working at the airport. Airside. I'm an Airside airport worker, security clearance. I love the ID tag. My brother's mate Dean got me the interview at H.F.T.B. I was fed up of making up stuff in them JSA logbooks, signing on at Red Hill Job Centre every other week. It was depressing. I needed to take a job, any job, and after numerous applications and failed interviews, Dean came up trumps. He owed me one. I sorted him out a regular DJ spot at a little club where me and my mate Mick have been putting on our own gigs, to varying degrees of success. We're trying to cultivate an underground music scene here, and we've got the tools, but we don't really know how to dig, and we don't know if there's a demand for it. I walk up the hill past Hawley train station. I can see the south terminal in the distance like a big blue block of Lego sticking out straight down the railway track. I make my way down the old wooden steps which lead to the arches where that little theatre is, the Archway, which I've never been in, but it's always sort of intrigued me. I then head into the Riverside estate which I'll cut through to the other alleyway, then into the airport. Maybe working a retail job is a step down from my computer apprentice style job. Flipping Kindle again. Computer apprentice job, career-wise, if there is such a thing. But I hated that job, and I'm earning more money. It's decent for retail, and all that career stuff went out the window anyway when I needed to work. It's not like the JSA people gave a shit about my ambitions. They wanted me off the books. Well, that's what it felt like anyway. I get on with the other staff here. They're all music heads and we sell music. I love music. I'm now in charge of the dance section. It's small. We're a tiny store, but I split it into subgenres. Breakbeat, drum and bass, deep house, funky house, UK garage, trance. I'm quite proud of it. And I even get to order stuff in. Feels good to be around people I get on with similar interests and to feel like I'm actually useful. It gets mad busy in the shop sometimes and you can't get off the till. But it is shift work and the airport never sleeps and the aircon and strip lighting aren't pleasant. They give me headaches. At the back of the shop unit we can see right up into the air ducts and it ain't pretty up there. Looks like a load of gone off candy floss that we're all breathing in. H.F.T.B is all a bit corporate as well. All that customer service bollocks they try and make us do. As if anyone really wants that sort of smiley Disney style attention, badgering customers. Leave them alone, man. I hate that shit. It's all a bit insincere. Feels to me like those retail HR bods are all just trying to one up each other and forget that most customers don't want to be hassled by an awkward sales assistant like me. I head along the drive, past all the Guinness Trust flats that look like giant cheese blocks. I hear the odd dog barking. I used to get a bit scared coming down here as a kid. Could almost guarantee at the very least getting some verbal abuse shouted at me by older boys. Oi wanker, give me a snout, bruv. Early shifts at the airport. I have to open up the shop. I've got keys and everything. Feels good to have responsibility. The power to turn the key and open the shutter and then turn the alarm off. Little bit scary though. Normally the geezer from Weatherspoon's next door, who looks like Steven Seagal, sorts me out free teas. There's a good little community at the airport, between all the retail bods. There's also a thriving black market. Sometimes it seems as if everyone there is on the rob to some degree, and I'm no different. There's a lot of trade-offs between the shops that go on day to day. Got myself a nice new pair of Nikes out of it. I'm wearing them now. I turn right at the end of the drive, and it's always at this point I can start to hear the noise of the airport, the drone of the engines and the M23 whizzing around it. I'm heading towards the alleyway that takes me up into the south terminal, parallel with the train track. Used to love this bit as a kid, especially when you see a plane coming in. They suddenly look massive compared to 10 minutes ago by the station. Sometimes when I'd miss church, Mum and Dad would send me to mass in the south terminal multi-faith chapel. I'd do the same walk that I'm doing now. 5:30 on a Sunday evening was the Catholic slot. There was always a different crowd in there, what of all the travellers and shift workers, apart from this one family, parents and 3 kids who all wore matching jumpers with a rainbow on it. They were odd. I'd hang around a bit afterwards to play in the arcades or buy a dairy milk from W.H. Smith's. Never thought I'd end up working in the airport though, which is strange, because my dad, all my older siblings and so many other people I know around here all work or have worked at Gatwick. Some older people said it's why you don't need to leave here. There'll always be a job at the airport. Not sure about that. Come to think of it, aside from fantasies about being a footballer or a musician or doing computers, I don't think I've ever thought about what I'd be doing. What was I thinking about? I get to meet all sorts of people travelling all over the world. I met the Spurs team recently and chatted to Jermaine Defoe about West Ham. Made sure I told him I was Millwall. He weren't that bothered though. He was eating pick and mix and bought a Marks Houston CD. I met this Michael Jackson Thriller era impersonator. He was just like him, talked like him and everything. That was his actual job. He bought 4 copies of his #1 album and wanted each CD to go through individually so it would register as a separate transaction and push it further up the album charts. Didn't have the heart to tell him that it didn't matter. My first ski season was nuts too. I don't think I'd ever really met properly posh people before. Lots of floppy haircuts, stripy shirts and witty banter. I just thought that was a stereotype of Harry Enfield. The late night flights out to Tel Aviv have been eye-opening too. Big groups of Orthodox Jews wearing all the traditional dress, escorted into the departure lounge by armed police. Gives the old Bill something to do, I suppose. Whenever I look up from the till, there's nearly always one of them in the shop browsing the latest DVD releases, machine gun hanging off their chest like a baby in a pouch. The early shifts are tiring, and my eyes and head hurt, and for some reason I get these mad stomach aches. It's like my body gets confused between night and day, and sleeping after an early shift is difficult, what with the noise and that. Then waking up late afternoon all disorientated, dribble on my face. Today is going to be a long day, and I worked through without a break because at 12 I'm getting the train straight down to Brighton so I can do this course that I've started down there on music event promotion. It's going good. 3 days a week, all leading towards a big event at a club called the Ocean Rooms. I'm going to MC there too. Nicky Black Market and Shabba are headlining. I turn into the alley and walk through the park, which is pitch black. I've heard a few people have got robbed down here. I have my fists out, my pocket and clenched, and my heart rate rises sharply until I come out under the orange street lamp and I can see again, heart rate declining, continuing up the alley, heading fast past the first set of car parks, then out by where the A23 runs. All the while, the general airport sounds getting louder and louder, till I can hear the tannoy announcements underneath the terminal building. Head out through the emergency exit, swiping my security pass into the blinding bright strip lights of the south terminal, and it's like I never left. Busy as hell and people everywhere. Who would have thought it was 4:45 a.m? Hop on the monorail to the north side where I go through security, say alright to a few bods and bop into the shop. I don't mind this job. It's a laugh and it's good to feel useful. Hopefully Steven Seagal is working. I could do with a free tea. Right, there you go. So that is this HMV story. Not sure about this one. I actually quite like it, but I'm really worried now about length. Not even like these are like the kind of intro stories, all the 5 that you've heard so far. But we'll see. This is the whole point of this thing, is to put the material out there and then see what happens. But listen, 30th and 31st, I need to get my skates on, don't I? And start working out what this whole thing is going to be. But listen, Camden People's Theatre, do me a favour, book some tickets, please. And if you like what you're doing, if you like this, subscribe, share it, whatever. Alright? Nice one. Peas and taters.